My name's Don.
And I'm Peter.
And we are two plebs talking about... California.
This week in the DPRC.
And in continuation of last week's DPRC point of view, the chickens, they be coming home to roost.
Well, they tend to do that.
Yeah, it's just rare that they happen 2 weeks in a row. I mean, usually about once a month, there's, California's been doing stupid things for years, and look, see, it's finally starting to come bite them in the ass. And here we are 2 weeks in a row.
Well, maybe somebody set some things up to be a bit more close consecutive since they are now out of office.
No,
No?
I don't think so. This is really many, many years of bad policy, and then policy direction that all of a sudden are coming together. And in that sense, I mean, that there is a like a Meals on Wheels type service for the homeless in San Diego that is shutting their doors, and they're not going to be alone.
Right.
Because we passed a law, and I'm sure it was just pure common sense, and it took effect on January 1st, and seemingly they started to get hassled by the government and said, well, I guess that's it, we're going to close the doors, because that law said you have to have a hand washing station basically with you at all times.
Right.
If you distribute food in any fashion.
So you have to have a mobile hand washing station while you're running around handing out meals to people.
And it has to be sanitized on a regular basis.
Oh, wait, that also destroys all food carts.
Doesn't it?
That's not even just a homeless issue. I mean, granted, here in California, we don't have the big street cart food thing. Only migrants run those things.
That's true. And this is a sanctuary state, so I'm sure the taco trucks will be fine.
I'm thinking the fruit lady.
Relax a little.
I'm thinking the rainbow umbrella where you get the big cups of fruit.
Probably. She's probably screwed, right? Because she's in, if there has been any preparation of any kind, hand washing station.
Oh, they have to cut that stuff up, right? They cut it up fresh right there in front of you.
Exactly. And that requires a hand washing station. So those things are all going to go away as well. Which, look, if you don't live in California, in fact, for a while when I didn't see a single one of these things. So probably the rest of the country has no idea that this is a thing.
Gotcha.
However, it's a pretty big thing here.
Yeah.
You can't go 5 miles in any direction from wherever you're at in this state and not find somebody with a little table, a big umbrella, selling whatever it is that they probably grow at home.
Right. Or, some guy on a 3-wheel bicycle with a little tow cart on it, and, it's like an ice chest full of hot tamales.
Yeah.
It's all over the place here. None of that will be able to happen anymore.
Probably not.
Wow.
Right? But look, man, it's very important that if any quantity of food prep, and by the way, the discussion on these things is a little bit vague from the actual charity here, but it seems like what they're dealing with is they've got like a big crate, right, of whatever it is they're handing out, and they take one little jar of it and they put it in a bag. And that seemingly is enough food preparation that they need to be able to wash their hands.
While they're outside mobile. Because I assume they prepped this someplace else, which probably has a sink for hand washing.
So it's quite literally a local charity of people who just got together and were like, we should totally feed the homeless. So they make this stuff at home.
Where they have sinks where they can wash their hands.
Yes. Which makes, originally when I was looking at this, made this all the more confusing because I went, but you do all the food prep in a house.
Right.
And houses, by nature of what they are, meet the requirements of the law. And then I went and read the law, and it says any amount of food preparation, and then that's why I say it seems like all they're doing is putting two things together, because there are a couple of articles that describe that being what they do. But that is ridiculous and absurd, and clearly would never happen, and yet they're closing the doors.
Right, because you would think they're at their home, they're prepping the meals, they're putting them in the bags, and so there's hand washing happening there, it should be fine.
You would think.
Because there's no food preparation happening out on the field when they're lying, here, poor person, take the bag of food.
You would think. And yet, they have been told explicitly, stop doing what you're doing.
Why?
Well, because there needs to be a hand washing station nearby.
But I'm not preparing food anymore here.
Doesn't matter.
I'm handing
Close
food.
enough.
Just handing somebody food is close enough?
Close enough. Now, this might get us back to those taco trucks, right?
Right.
Because it depends entirely on whether or not the government goes, yeah, that meets the requirement.
Well, taco trucks have a sink. And they have a hand washing station.
Sure. But is it close enough? Or is, for the ones that don't, because I've seen a couple that don't, right? And those are usually quite literally somebody's truck, not
right.
what you generally around here think of as a taco truck.
What I would typically refer to as a roach coach.
Yeah.
Those have sinks and hand washing stations.
Yeah.
Now, out of the back of someone's F-150 with a couple of ice chests, no, there's no hand washing station there.
But keep in mind that a great line has been crossed here. This is not them selling it.
No.
This is them giving it away.
Right.
Now, by the way, don't get me wrong, it's a high population area, and California has lots of homeless people anyway. But they're talking 200 meals a week for 5 years up till now.
Right.
So they were putting some into this for quite some time.
There was some work, some goodwill.
Now, none of that counts. Does not matter at all.
No.
So instead, we're gonna...
So it's because they don't have a hand washing station with them while they are handing people bags of food.
Now, according to them, yes.
So does the grocery store need to have a hand washing station at every checkout now so that the person who bags your groceries can wash their hands before they hand you the bags?
Maybe.
I mean that's how anal retentive this sounds.
Well, look, there's going to be a hand washing station within the store, and the bill is worded kind of, well, the law, I guess, is worded kind of vaguely, so that might count.
Or maybe they should go to one of the porta potty distributors and buy one of their
hand washing stations?
Hand washing stations, stick some wheels on it, and truck that along with them.
And, I mean, that would seemingly be the actual requirement here. But again, the law has rules about it being sanitized.
So, you sanitize it daily. So what?
Well, now we're talking about people who are, out of their own pocket, preparing meals for homeless people that are going to buy a hand washing station and sanitize it on a daily basis.
I'm not saying that the new law is not asinine in preventing this from happening. I'm just saying a way to get around this would be to, buy a hand washing station.
Sure. And potentially that's the answer. Now, it seems fairly obvious to me that you would need more than one of these by the description they give, which is to say that they just go out and go, you're homeless, here's food, you're homeless, here's food.
Right, which means the other alternative they have would be meet up at this make a standardized location.
You can't do that.
Why not?
Because you would need a permit for that.
Meet up at my house so I can just hand you guys food.
You can't do that unless you own the house and you don't have an HOA.
Wow.
Because if you don't own the house, the standard California rental contract involves you cannot run a business or have a large quantity of traffic for just these such occasions running through your house. Now, every lawyer in California will tell every landlord that this needs to be in there for obvious reasons.
So they can't feed the homeless? Obviously.
So you can't turn your two-bedroom house into a nightclub.
Right, no, I understand that.
But
I do.
Look, you can't keep making these regulations without these sorts of things happening.
Right. I'm sorry, they have to reevaluate this. I mean, because they don't have... I mean, how else are these guys going to eat? Other than getting a job.
Well, that's what the state's there for.
Oh, they're going to go out and hand them food?
Yeah. I mean, just ask them. They'll tell you.
Where?
Do you not remember that we passed a law saying that we were going to provide housing and food for all of the homeless in California?
Yeah, no, I remember seeing the laws, and the laws have been passed. And then I've also saw all of the not in my backyard suing, saying it's not going down here. So that's why it hasn't shown up yet.
Well,
they are still unable to do this.
Well, yeah, but look, the state will figure it out.
After how many people starve to death?
Well, who cares?
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, that's basically the answer. Because the state will run out there and tell you that they need more funding, or they need you to stop suing, or they need you to give to them or let them tax you, really is what they're saying,
Right.
so that they can solve this problem. And then they will say people are dying, and then the obvious question would be, so what are you doing about it? And their answer will be, we're complaining because you people won't let us. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but we are going from 200 meals a week for 5 years to the state complaining about this. If you actually cared about the homeless people, which would you rather have?
200 meals a week for 5 years? Preferably longer than 5 years?
Well, they weren't going anywhere up until January 1st.
Right. I would like to see a jobs program to get these people off the street so that isn't a necessity.
Well, you say that, but there are hundreds, so...
Then how do we get these people into them?
Well, you get them to choose to be there, and that doesn't happen.
So if they're not choosing to get jobs to get out of the situation, why are we feeding them?
Well, that's a good question, but one way or the other, we will be extracting money from the populace to at least claim to feed them. And if I'm going to lose the money anyway, we may as well see them fed. Now, what's amazing is this charity was collecting donations or just paying out of their own pocket.
Right.
And feeding the homeless. Now, if I had to take a wild guess as to which most of the whole country would rather see, it's that, as opposed to we're going to take your money and,
do nothing.
Not do anything. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, all of the money that so thus far we have collected in tax to make this policy happen has been used to fight every single court case because you guys don't want it to happen anywhere near your house.
Yeah, and among other things.
Or where you congregate and socialize. You guys want it to be an unseen kick them out of the state problem?
Well, no, you can't kick them out of the state, right?
Stow them into the wilderness, get them out of the city?
I don't know, send them to the Mojave. Whatever.
Something.
That's good enough. But, no, look, there have been a few stories, as it were, of people trying to get this done, and I think we've talked about a couple of them, and the reality is no one actually wants this, right?
No.
And you can tell because anytime someone tries to do it, there are lawsuits all over the place.
Right.
So
our Congress is like, no, we will do this. That's why you put us in place. Let's get it going. Lawsuits galore. We can't get it done.
Mm-hmm. Furthermore, though...
But the taxes stay.
They do. But more importantly, though, a very quiet line of stories, which I probably should have kept and we should have talked about here, is that a couple of these things... In fact, I think we have talked about this once. A couple of these things have run into a regulatory problem.
Yeah.
Where they're going to build tiny houses, or they're... in fact, I think we did talk about that one, right? And they said, you can't build that. That's not legal to put up in California.
Yep. Those do not meet code in any way, shape, or form. You cannot use them.
And so, even the state doesn't actually want to do this.
No, the state says it wants to do it, but it says it can't do it.
Yeah. That's a pretty normal thing around here. And because we can't possibly manage to, do anything without that being the problem.
Or writing an exemption so that we can do this?
Well, we might try in both of these, actually, because PG&E is declaring bankruptcy.
Woo!
Yeah.
I wonder why.
$30 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's what both they and the state agree they may be liable for because of the fires. And the state went out and assessed whose fault these fires were and decided that PG&E was responsible for 17 of 21 of those fires.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, because you can't change rates around here very much, PG&E said, if we're going to pay that, we have to raise rates. That is more than the sum total of our assets plus the sum total of our insurance coverage. We literally cannot pay you that much money.
Yeah, even if we razzed it to the ground and liquidated everything, we would still come up short.
And so they said, that's it, we're declaring bankruptcy.
Right. That seems like the appropriate time to hit that button.
Doesn't it? And so what did we do? Because this is California, they're just being greedy. They're taking hostages in Sacramento.
What hostage?
So PG&E effectively said, multiple times, has said to Sacramento, look, if you come after us for this much money, we can't pay you. So either I need to be able to pass this on to customers and then pay you over a long term, or we're declaring bankruptcy, or you are not charging me that much money. Those are the three options.
Right. So there's no hostage there.
Well, so that PG&E is a big corporation. They have unlimited monies. They're just lying. I'm not kidding. That's the argument against them.
Of course it is. Prove it.
Well, so...
I mean, at this point in time, prove it.
Do you know that this is California? Proof here is... that doesn't exist.
I know it is guilty until proven innocent here. I'm well aware.
Well, it's not just guilty until proven innocent, right? It's also, we have determined that you have these monies. Therefore, you will give them to us.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you show up with a balance sheet that says, I don't have that.
Right.
Because, well, yes, you do. And to the point, PG&E has even been like, okay, well, then show me where.
Like, show us where this money is, because we would like to be able to use it.
Right. And by the way, this only gets better. Because the state has already told them they need to re-inspect every square inch of line they have in the state.
Of course.
Which, by the way, is not free.
Of course.
And then they need to go and trim trees and do all kinds of other things, which, by the way, they were already required to do. However, because this is going to be a big dog and pony show, that all is going to need to be trimmed back even further so you can walk in a week later with an inspector and go see it's still trimmed.
Okay. I mean, believe me, and I'm tired of cleaning up after those guys in my backyard.
Okay.
Power line.
Yeah.
They trim trees.
And they do, right?
And, I usually have to clean up after them.
They do it all over the state. And however, they're going to have to do it more.
Right.
So, understand that's coming. More importantly, though, this is come up with $30 billion and execute this massively expensive reinspection.
Yep.
Now, the best part of this, and it came up in the comments section, I'd completely forgotten to say it the last time we talked about PG&E. PG&E is having problems with various transformers all over the state.
Yeah.
And that's what they're blaming these fires on.
Okay.
The transformers are mandated by serial number by the state of California to be what PG&E uses.
So the transformers are the problem causing the fires.
Yep.
And PG&E is using them because the state of California said you have to.
Yeah, and years ago...
Then that makes it the state of California's fault.
Yeah, but nothing's ever the state of California's fault. Come on. And by the way, they tried this in 2008 or something like that. They said, look, you told us to use these things and they're causing fires. Change the law. And California went, that's not how it works. Shut up and pay me.
Right. Wow.
Now, by the way, there is another set of transformers that is being used in nearly every other state in the union, where if it has a mild surge, which, by the way, is what they're blaming all of these fires on, it immediately grounds out the transformer. So, no fire.
Right.
On the other hand, you can't do that here.
Why not?
Every single one is something like a $10,000 fine and must be replaced with the one that California says you have to use. Yeah. But hey, don't worry about it. The ridiculous regulatory burden in the state knowing better, never a problem around here.
Right. I think that is what birthed this particular episode.
Well, like I said, it's the chickens coming home to roost episode.
Right.
Again, right?
Again.
Because...
Yes. No, I mean DPRC as a whole.
Well...
California messing things up.
Yeah, there is that.
That's what I meant.
Fair enough. But look, there's more to this. Because, by the way, there's a grand plan for what to do here.
Okay.
We're going to nationalize PG&E.
Of course we are.
We're going to break it up into multiple municipalities and nationalize it.
Of course.
Which, by the way, will then mean the next fire is nobody's fault. Because when the fires happen under these local municipality-controlled electricity companies, no one is held responsible.
Yep.
So, that's good.
No one's responsible. It's only the insurance companies that have to pay out.
Yeah. And by the way, if the cost exceeds what the insurance company will pay out, nobody pays.
Yep.
But here's the best part of this. Because PG&E doesn't get subsidized by the state, at least in the same sense that local municipalities do, which is to say directly and related to their power consumption, right? Or their power sales, or gas sales equally in their case. They are going to probably get replaced by local municipalities that are paying lower rates for electricity, because all of them are, and lower rates for gas, because all of them are, and charging you probably the same as a customer, right?
Right.
Or relatively close. Well, because we can't screw up just one thing when we have these brilliant California ideas...
Well, of course.
Do you know where we're getting all of that power from?
Other states?
Well, a lot of it, yeah. But what we're not getting from the Hoover Dam, usually, is coming from all of this green energy nonsense that we've been putting into effect here in the state.
Okay.
And the, one other nuclear power plant that subsidizes a lot of us from, again, another state.
Yes.
But mostly, for power that we actually produce here, it's all of this clean energy nonsense. So, the giant windmill farms up I-5,
right?
All that kind of nonsense.
Yes.
Turns out those are still under loan. Oh. They're not paid for.
Oh.
And so somebody went, wait a minute. If you pay them less, those things are closing.
Yep.
And by the way, no matter what happens here, that is going to happen because PG&E went, I got a great idea in the bankruptcy filing. This why don't you let us pay, renegotiate the rates for what we pay for power, which is where this came up.
Right.
However, you'll notice that none of the local municipality-based energy companies are paying that rate. No one talks about it very much because the state's cheap. But PG&E is the kind of thing that is funding those existing. Mostly because the state said, well, you have to. Right. And they went, well, then I guess we'll figure out how. And so they agreed to all of these higher rates because that stuff's expensive.
Right.
And now they're not going to be paying it.
So the people who are delivering the power are going to want more money because they're not getting it from PG&E anymore. So those local municipalities are going to get a larger bill.
Probably not.
Why not?
Because you don't get to renegotiate with the state. The state says, I am paying you X. That's it. Right? This is everyone's complaint about medicine in Canada.
Right.
The state just goes, well, this is what you get. Right? And this is why Bernie runs around talking about how Canada pays less for drugs than we do.
Right.
Well, in this situation, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And all that's left is all of our green energy imploding.
Right, because we can no longer pay for the loans on it.
All because we really, really had to go after PG&E, because screw those guys!
Well, they're the ones with all the money. We know so.
Yeah.